Hi, Chantel. Evening. How are you?
Good evening. I can hear you now, loud and clear.
It's the first mistake I make every time that I always have my mic on mute and then I start talking. That's just
All
the
right.
eagerness kicking in.
I'm not very good at charades.
Haha.
You
Nor am
know,
I. Nor am I. So, how are you? How's your day been?
I'm okay, thank you. I've had a productive day. It's been steady today, so I'm okay. I'm fine, thank you. Are you good?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's nice to hear from you. So, yeah, it's been a productive day, and I've been looking forward to this all day. So, I've
Good.
been chatting to my barber literally as about the podcast, as he's quite keen to always hear. So, I was like, yeah, I've got a podcast call tonight, so I've been looking forward to it, and glad that you're here.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's good.
So I literally earlier today I was driving home from work and I was listening to your more recent podcast episode, and I'm quite conscious of overlapping in terms of some of the content within there, but I hope a lot of tonight's content will take it in a different way that explores a lot of the features which you sort of brought up in that episode, where I really resonated with some of those. And I really wanted to unpick those a little bit more to try and add a little bit more context, but also to try and make sure it's not as repetitive for you sharing the same story week in, week out, or every time you're on a podcast episode.
Yeah. I've only recently started doing some podcasts, so all the stories are quite raw and quite new, and obviously haven't been heard before because I haven't said them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I know there's a lot to unravel because I think there's a lot of questions about your playing time in terms of what you're doing now in terms of your life, and certainly around tennis and what that brings to you. And it's not just about being the ex women's international footballer, and it's not just about Trousergate. It's a lot more in terms of what you're doing. So I think it's about branching that out a little bit more and going, actually, this is what Chantel's up to, and this is what she's very much up to and engaged with the athletes. And there's much more to a story in her life to where a contemporarily at in that space. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great, that's good. Sounds good.
Me too. So well, to unravel it, so we're sat here today because your journey started out in terms of football, in terms of that experience in what led you to becoming sort of recognized in a way in terms of your decisions, your life which has unfolded, and perhaps to where you are now. And in terms of what you're doing, you might not be doing what you're doing without football. Or would you say that is true, or would you say actually I might still be here without football in my life?
Yes, I could cope without football in my life, I think, because I'm a very much, I'm not obsessive like some people are. I have a lot of things to my life, and I'm quite busy doing other little projects and things just personally. And so, could I live with it? And I have left the game for a while before, but I'm just coming back. But I'm really enjoying being back. And I do feel like football, really, as much as I might deny it, is a part of me. And it is something that I'm passionate about, without a doubt. And I absolutely am a big believer in fate. I'm coming up to my birthday next week, Luca. I'm turning 50, which is a bit of a milestone for me. And, it does send you to be very reflective, even, when you're coming up to a milestone like that. So I do look back, and I think really I've said no, but actually I think I mean yes, Luca. I don't think I could live without it, really, if I'm really honest. Because I'm enjoying being back, and it is a part of me. It's a part of my history. It's a part of my DNA is football, and giving back and helping clients who are, starting that journey where I have been is great to help them and have that experience to share with them as well.
Absolutely. And when it comes down to, that coping mechanism which you talk about, and when you look back upon your career and those reflections and those milestones, when you go through moments of adversity in your life, through different life experiences, what coping mechanisms do you instill within yourself when you perhaps might feel there's a lot going on in your life, that there's a lot to sort of balance, and that can be hard to cope with in our own minds at times?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at certain times things can get a little bit overawed, a little bit on top of you, and everything come all at once. Too many thoughts, too many feelings, too many emotions. It just all builds up. And many years ago, there wasn't anything in place really. You didn't know about mental health and how to deal with yourselves. Growing up in them years, it was quite a sturdy, quite hard, quite kind of cold way of coming. You just dust yourself down and you get on with it. It's as simple as that. We haven't got time to dwell. We haven't got time to sit away. You're missing out. And you can absolutely do that, but it will get you nowhere. You have got to just dust off, get on with it again, and get going. Simple as that. You didn't have as many outlets or any outlets to go and gain any support, so you just dealt with it yourself. Personally, when it happened to me, I just probably would take myself away, have some reflective time, reassess my goals, reassess my performance and where I am and where I'm going, and just try and project that further and try to improve and grow better than I am already. It was the plan, really.
I love the way that you say grow and improve, and to always make yourself that person within yourself. But when you talk about how many different services there are available towards footballers and other athletes and individuals that are readily available now, especially when it comes to mental health, and you even think of like, a footballer who might receive, a psychologist, and then they might work on their game and visualize and all these different concepts, and they might work on different programs, and there's so many different people supporting them. But in terms of from your reflective practice, right, in terms of when you were a footballer compared to say a footballer now, do you think although they have more support networks, that you as players back then were a little bit more resilient than players than we're seeing now in a way?
Absolutely, because you just had to be resilient. You had to be flexible. You had to, change positions. You couldn't sulk about it. Well, you could sulk about it, but you wouldn't probably play for long. So you just had to adapt, and I think there was a lot more respect around back then. We was not afraid of the manager, but we had respect for him or her, and if they told us to do something, I actually was. I'm not gonna. I was such a good centre forward. I played number 10 a lot of my career, and then one day when I was playing for Bronte in the National League, one of the players didn't turn up, and they said Chantel, left back, and I said sorry. So I'm not left. I'm not left. I was not happy. Let me tell you. I'm nudging somebody next to me in the changing room, saying left back. I'm not left back. And they said, "Chantel, you left back." What? Anyway, I wasn't happy. I played. I had the best game of my life, the best game I've ever played in my whole life, and I never moved from that position. And then I went on to Doncaster Belles. And the funny thing was, I remember saying to the manager at that time, Paul Edmonds, I remember walking with him on the training field, and I just turned up to, 11 of these players were in the England side already at Doncaster Belles. And I remember saying, Paul, I just want to tell you, I know that I've come here as a left back, but actually I'm a centre forward. I actually can play centre forward really well, So, and he went, Chantel, he said, can I just tell you something? And I said, he said, yeah. I said, yeah, Paul. And he said, I'll tell you who picks the team here, and I'll tell you where you're going to play. Something. And I went, yeah. Sorry, Paul. I'm just kind of just letting you know that kind of thing. But no, he chose left back as well. That prompt didn't help. And he kept me left back, and I went on to obviously have a good career and play for my country in that position. But I would have never seen that for myself ever in a million years. Was I a defender? I wasn't. Quite insulted. But actually, I was quite an attacking, left-sided left winger. So I had to be clever there with my runs, because I couldn't breathe too much if I, ran too many times. So I had to be a bit smarter, work smarter, not harder, kind of on the field. But yeah, so I think there was a lot of respect there with the managers, where we just did as we told. And if it didn't, we weren't happy about it. We didn't play. It's as simple as that. We weren't in that team. And I think we do over pamper a little bit. I think we do over accommodate players when, quite frankly, I'd have just dropped them. No nonsense. I don't know whether that's because I'm from Yorkshire. or whether it's just the way I am. But I wouldn't, for example, the telephones, telephones were not a thing. I think telephones can, and I hear all sorts, but, they can certainly isolate players from the team. In fact, somebody asked me this the other day. They said something to this effect, that about telephones, from a post that I'd put on, and they said, surely it's going to help that individual though, and I said, yeah, but if the manager says we're all going to turn up in our tracksuit on Sunday, and one person says, well, I like denim jeans because I feel more comfortable. I don't care whether you like denim jeans. I don't care. The tracksuit is what we're all wearing, which is ironic because I got dropped for not wearing mine, but that's another story. But, the team is as one. So we're all traveling like that. We can't start making one exception for another. So I appreciate that if we're in the changing room and someone wants, their own music or whatever, there's going to be music in the changing room anyway. And if you sat there with your headphones on, nobody can speak to you, nobody can turn around and give a comment, and you're not picking up on what's being said, in the changing room, the atmosphere, etc. So it could be an excluding factor in a way as well. Although I appreciate it, and he said, well, Pep Guardiola, he was on the telephone. That's not showing leadership. I said, he's the manager and he can do what he wants. And you don't know any information about what he's talking about. It could be about the team, it could be really important. So never mind worrying about what he's doing. If he's saying no phones for players, it's no phones for players. And if somebody doesn't like that, then go to play for a team that allows you to have phones. But I think somebody might go, well, it's okay for Jonathan to be on his phone. Well, I don't agree with that. But if that's what they're doing, that can happen. I know that, because they want Jonathan to have a good game. I want Jonathan to have a good game, and I want him to come and speak to me about why he needs that phone in his changing room when he's walked through that stadium gates. Because also a phone call or a message can, it could be an emergency at home. Something could come up and, put a spanner in the works when your focus and your preparation should be on the game alone and being with the team. But that's obviously a strong opinion of mine, maybe not shared by everybody, but that's how I would run my team.
I like that insight in terms of how you'd coach that, and certainly bringing in experiences from, your time and looking at the adjustment in terms of how phones and technology has come into play and how that affects players. But a lot of people think just because there's new traditions or there has been traditions and there's new ways of doing things, that we have to scrap a lot of what has been done in, say, 1990s, 1995s, early 2000s, especially when you were a player. And it's like, well, it worked for them. Look at these players. Look at the flair they had. Look at the way they performed. Look at how they had the ability to really focus on a pitch. And a lot of people always then talk about how much they prefer the game many years ago to where it is now. And it's like, well, actually, why do we have to keep adapting to new ways? Why do we have to keep making changes? It doesn't always have to be that way.
It doesn't in my world, absolutely not. And I think a lot of people do compare to others and have a look at and this is what somebody had come to me and asked me. He said, well, I'm looking at others and they're doing that. And I don't care what they're doing. I don't care what they're doing. What do you think is right? What feels right? And at the end of the day, we need a leader. We need some leadership. We need somebody, it's a bit like having a dog. It needs rules. It needs to know who's in charge. And I think sometimes that could be better. And then maybe we'd be a little bit tighter as a team. And, it's interesting.
Definitely interesting. When you talk about those rules, right, making the group tighter, looking at that leadership style, what other rules would you have in your team then if you were running a side or you were the gaffer?
Oh, well, it'd just be a togetherness. Like I said, we walk through the ground. We together. Then the phones are switched off. There's no outside contact. There'll be no kids walking out with us. I don't agree with that personally. I appreciate that. They're there and the family, and it's lovely to have them walk out. But you know what? I think it were Leeds who were playing a playoff last year. I'm a Leeds fan. And they'd obviously took all the kids out, and I was like, "What's going on here? Why are we having the kids? What's going on? We've got a really important game here." And they're all smiling and all. And I understand why they've done it, to relax them, and they want to do it or whatever. Fine. No, I won't be having none of that. The kids would be in the stand. We've got work to do. We've got a game, and then they can come on after all they want. And we actually lost that game. So that would be my preparation. But like you were saying about the later years and not wanting to have to change things, you know, I remember most of our goals came from, and I go watch a match now, and as a left winger, you know, my full aim was just to get to the byline, cross it over, big centre forward, Kaz Walker, boom, straight in the back of the net. 9 times out of 10. Very simple, very effective. And I go watch a left back now, and I'm thinking, why they're not running? Why they're not running? Why are you not attacking here? Why are we not going for that? And I understand they've either been told to not do it or to get an early crossing or whatever it might be. That's fine. But, you know, why change something that's been effective for the last 50, 60 years?
100%, I completely agree with you. And when it comes to the way that you approach that, then it seems to be firmly in the zone and very raw in terms of when that team would be with you at that point and they had a match day. So the players are turning up, they're very much focused on the game. There's, you know, whatever the game plan is that they've worked on in terms of the week, the principles, the style of play, etc., and all of those variables. But you also talked about the game plan on another podcast, right? And that game plan for me came across as everything that's in the mind and everything that you're talking about certainly hits that point there of being focused, being on the ball, being very much centralized on what the game is and how you're going to execute the actions within those moments and not having everything else around the outside factoring in. It's literally, this is your square. Everything that I've given you is in that. You focus on the objectives and then you go out and perform those actions.
Exactly. I can give you the tools to be able to go and do that. But if I give you the tools and then you go in there, you know, doing something different, then that isn't going to work. I can give you the tools if you go and implement them and you get your, whether it's a pre-match routine, you know, might be, you know, having, even some of my clients might have a notepad that they take with them and they have it in their bag. And let's say they're feeling nervous. Oh gosh, I'm feeling nervous. You know, what do we work on with Chantel? Oh, I'll go to this page and there'll be a big page about nervousness and the tool that they've been given in order to either settle themselves or just some bullet points to know that, yeah, they're all right, or confirmation that it's okay to be nervous. It just means that it's excitement and, you know, that they care. So it's good to have nerves, some breathing techniques, you know, and just really get yourself in that zone really to go out and do the business, because I want them to play to the full potential, and that's really something I'm passionate about as well. I don't just want them to play football. I want them to play to the best of their ability, and I do again believe there are many players who are not and or could do more. So whether they even know that they could do more is another question. But from an outsider looking in, I can see some improvements that could be made mentally. I'm not talking physically. I'm not talking about the feet. I'm talking about the way they think, the decision making, the way they're getting over mistakes or not, the body language. You know, I can read a player on a, you know, well, not even on a pitch, but in general, by just looking at them. And hopefully that's a skill of mine where I am quite intuitive. And I do have a skill of being able to maybe put the finger on what it is that maybe has been an issue that has been holding them back, you know, the shackles that have been holding them back to playing the full potential. And, you know, again, I didn't have that, where I believe I didn't play to my full potential, really. You know, I had a good career and I did well, but I could have been more, to be fair, if I'd have really wanted. I've no regrets, but nobody ever helped or showed me that. If I'd have had somebody like myself to go, hey, looking from the outside in, actually, if you did this, that, the other, that might just propel you to get that more regular spot in the first team. You know, or you're having more of an impact by doing that. But the reason you're not impacting is because you're playing it safe, for example. Why you're not taking, you know, I've gone to watch clients and there's time when they've backed out of a tackle, or, you know, they could have, you know, well, one guy I went to watch actually recently, and he was defending and the player turned him and he went in a bit close, player turned him, off he went, and he went, chased after him and then took him out nearly with a karate kick, I'm exaggerating, and got booked. And later in our session, I kind of said, well, how do you think you played? You know, and I thought it was 6 out of 10, if I'm honest. And I said, how do you think you played? And he went, I thought I didn't play great. I thought about 6 out of 10. And I said, oh, great. I said, not great, but that's, I would agree with that, which is great straight away, that he's not saying, oh, I was 9 out of 10, what are you talking about? He acknowledged, yeah, I thought it was a little bit whatever. Let's talk about that booking, I said, that you got. Oh, yeah, I never touched it. I never touched him. I said, I know you never touched him, but tell that to Eric Cantona, who did a karate kick in a spectator's face. He'll say he never touched him, but he did. So we were laughing, and I said, but I said, I'll tell you exactly what happened. You were going to pass to the right. You were about to make your pass and you changed your mind. You went back then into trouble. You got dispossessed. You got too tight. He turned you. I said, he wouldn't have turned me because I'd have put him in the stand before he turned me. But he got past you. You've then run after him and you've gone to, feet up and, you've took a booking. Why do you think that's a bad thing, or is that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. I'm going to get fined, might not get in the team. There's consequences for that, and it doesn't show great character. So how can we be better now the next couple of weeks? I want you to not get a booking for the next 3 matches. No bookings. Okay. And that is going to not only, people might expect you to get a booking, but you're not. What you're going to do next time when you get turned, instead of going, I'm going to chop this guy, you need to go, well, let's get far post, or have a goal of far post. Just have that in your mind so that you are, heading towards that far post rather than your focus is on the person that you need to go. That's just an example. And he did do very well. He didn't get booked for the last 3 weeks. And, I was really pleased for him. Because it's not good for us to be getting booked. But first of all, we have to have the chat that if he thought he was right or wrong. And he was in denial at first. It wasn't me. I think there's a song called Shaggy brought out once. It wasn't me. That was him. That's what he was saying to me all night. But at the end of it, he said it was me, wasn't it? And I said, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of the students that I work with day in, day out, and in terms of the response levels that I get, having literally observed their actions 2 minutes ago, and then literally addressing it, and they're arguing with me. So I've literally just seen you do that. But when it comes to those actual performance in back on the pitch, right, and with that client that you have, everything that you say to me, right, talks about performance, talks about high standards, talks about accountability, talks about being a real psychological mindset in terms of everything that you do and how you approach a player, and then tweaking their technical and then tactical aspects of the game. But as you said on another podcast, you also said that you're thinking an observer. Now, I noted that down, and it's literally everything that you said, I've gone, yeah, she's exactly that. And that's because you've unraveled the story, which has led to that. And when you come to, I know you've never managed, and you talk about losing love for the game, which we'll come back to, and coming back to it and finding that in other people, which is really, like a blessing. And again, you spoke about fate, and when you said about converting from a striker to a left back, it was like that again is that fate level, and how much I think deep down really exists in life. But even though you've got a little bit, even though you're finding that love to come back to it, and you're yourself in terms of what you're doing, and I know you've got the business, I know you've got a lot of work going on with these clients, as you say, but is a little bit of you just tweaking at being a manager or even coaching at a point? And I know, again, on another podcast, you said you didn't have interest in that, but just the way you speak there, I'm like, do you know what? I think there's a gaffer in there somewhere, even if it's for a year or something.
Yeah. It's something I've never thought about, but I probably could have been. I have got that in me. I am about the mental side first and foremost. I'm not there to get involved with the coaches and step on their toes and start telling my clients to do something that they, against something that they've been told off the manager. I don't want to be involved in that or actually, interfere with that. But I may give a tip or a little bit of of what I've observed. But I'm not really going to get into that. I could, but I'm not going to, because that's not my bag. I'm just going to focus on the mental side so that I get them right, so that when they do walk on that pitch, they have no worries about their own ability or their confidence, and they feel that they can go and play their best football. That's kind of my job, to get them ready mentally and to address any issues that they have. Whether that be making mistakes, confidence, nerve, pressure, as a high performer, you're always going to have pressure. The more pressure I have, the better. Because and I'm recently got a lot going on with tennis at the moment because it's the end of the last week of tennis, and I'm in 3 finals now. I'm the current holder and have, you know, I'm the current holder of the 3. So the ladies single, the ladies doubles, and the mixed doubles. And last Sunday I should have played three in one day, which is a normal occurrence at once a year. So again, think of how much that's taking out of me. 3 finals in one day. Now, we was rained off actually on Sunday, so the next final was on Tuesday, and it was funny because I was playing with a lady who, and I don't say just a housewife, but she's just a housewife. She's not an elite performer. She just plays at my tennis club for fun. But unfortunately, I've got her as my partner. Now, I'm going to drag her there winning. I'm going to drag her. And as soon as I saw her, I had to have the chat with her. We had the final on Tuesday night, and I said, right, listen, Vicky, right? I said, I rang you last night. You declined my call. She did. She declined it. She must have been in a meeting, but I thought, rude. I just rung her for a team talk. Anyway, so the day came, and I said, listen, Vicky. She said, do you think we can win? I said, listen, I know we can win. It's not a case of I think we can win. I know we can win. But let me tell you what I need from you. First of all, you need to believe that we're going to win. That's the first thing. We're not going on there to do our best. You're not going on there to do your best. That's not what I want from you. I want you to win this match. Now, never mind about being too nice, Mrs. Nice. When somebody does a shot, you don't say good shot, that were great. You don't say that. It might have been. It were all right. But you don't big them up and say, well done. Just move on. And this is what I want you to do. And, you know, keep it going. I want 5. I said to her, I want 5 shots off you. When they serve to you, you do a rally of 5 shots. That's all I want you to do. And I will have killed the shot before you even get to them 5. Or the other player will have done another shot wrong. Because I'll tell you, it'll end on 3. It'll end on 3. But you do me 5 and I'll deal with the rest. And we won 6-4, 6-2. I were absolutely out of this world. I was so aggressive and fired up for it. And, you know, I wanted it more. They couldn't cope with me. All the other women just looked at me. We had spectators. They thought I were crackers. You know, hit it to far back line. They got it back. And by that time, I was running into net and just blasted it, volleyed it, bang in like that. Come on. Like that. I was another level. And so we won that. I don't think my partner had ever won a trophy. She has now. So she's on that. She's really pleased about that. And then on Saturday, I've got 2 more finals, which is the ladies and singles and the mixed singles with my friend Fred, who's from Norway. He just goes, nay, you know, no, he's from Norway. And I'm going to have a word with him as well, Luca. So, you know, I've got my work cut out, but really enjoying implementing what I talk about. So, you know, the mindset, the mentality, the aggressiveness, the attackingness. I've only got one thing in my mind, and that is to win. And I will win in the right way, in the respectful way. You know, I've thrown a few tennis rackets around, but not these days. And that was much when I was much younger. But it is handling losses as well. You know, I'm not guaranteed to win on Saturday. It's going to hurt a lot. And I'm a little bit nervous. Naturally, I'm a little bit nervous. I've got a lot of pressure on me to deliver and perform, you know, and I feel exactly what these footballers feel now. Playing a final, I've got to play on Sunday. You know, even now I can feel that like tension of, gosh, you know, I've really got to do the business. But I'm working through it and breathing through it now. So come that day, I won't have any nerves because I'll know that I've got to, we talked about that resilience. I've got to do that job. I've got to get out there. I haven't got time to deal with pressure. I haven't got time, you know, and I'm going to make mistakes. I know that, you know, and I know what I need to do and be like in order for me to be successful on Sunday or Saturday. I've got to be calm. I haven't got to get upset, you know, if I start losing, which is a possibility. And, you know, so I'm working all my own words on myself. I will probably put a post on to see whether I've done well, good or bad. Either way, because you can all relate to loss and winning. But I am a champion at tennis a lot. I should have gone to Wimbledon, but I chose football. And I do coach it as well, actually, just part-time, you know, help out at the club. I've been there for 40 years. Yeah, so I get a lot of pleasure from that. But it's not easy being a champion. It's really not. you know, when you're up there at that eliteness, you have an expectation for yourself, never mind from other people who are, you know, expecting certain things from you. You do from yourself. So, you know, the stakes get higher, you know, and to me, I always played the game rather than the occasion, if that makes sense. And there's a classic quote, isn't there? You know, play the game, not the occasion. And on Sunday when I play, I will be playing the game. It's no final to me. It's just a game.
And there's a lot within that, right, Chantel? And I love the way that you pitched this together. And it's elaborated so many different questions from the way that you approach that. And I love that you have this final. I love the way that you're sort of thinking about it, because when we overhype it, or we're trying to maybe we are overstimulated from occasions like it is a final, I have to get prepared in a different way than I would for, say, training or all my games that have led to this. Actually, why do you have to adjust your training because of a final? That actually could be the opposite effect in terms of what you're trying to instill, because then you're changing your game plan, you're changing your focus, changing your tactics, and therefore that's not always going to be beneficial towards you. And that can be, you know, detrimental in terms of how you approach that. But when you sort of look at other sports, right, like snooker, and they talk about players like Ronnie O'Sullivan, right? He's now pitching towards his mid-40s, if not a little bit longer.
I'm a big fan of Ronnie, actually. Yeah, I like him.
I'm very glad, right? I'm very glad. Me and you have resonated so well, yeah. Right? And but because he's not as athletic around the table as, say, tennis and football, right? They still talk about the mind slowing down and that technical ability, and you see it just very little tweaks, right? But he is still always adapting his game plan in a way. And I saw him years ago. He was literally stepping into a shot, setting himself up, and that didn't last very long. But he was trying to adjust his game to extend that longevity. And I think for me, that just showed he tried to adapt it too much, that it took away that natural flair which he always had. And yet he's gone on to win many championships. He's still beating records. He's still consistently making quarterfinals and semi-finals. And it's when you said you're coming up 50 next week, right? And you're playing in finals again. When you sort of compare like snooker players and other players, you don't see, you know, other sports having players till the age of 50 making finals. So that is a high performance achievement within itself. The fact that you have made a final, even at the age of 50, and it's like, oh, you're 50? Yeah, I'm still playing. Yeah, I'm still making finals, because it's all in the mind, and your mind will execute downwards.
Yeah, look, I don't even think I've peaked yet. You know, I'm actually getting like a wine. I'm getting better with age, you know, and I think when you do get older, and that is a really big factor, you are so wise. You know, you look down and go, wow, if only I knew what I know now then. Why did I have to go through what I went through to learn that lesson? But we are sent lessons for reasons. And unfortunately, it may be your path or the cards you dealt that you do have that. And Ronnie O'Sullivan is a mastermind mentally. Is somebody I do look up to. Not only is he achieved and proven everybody wrong many times over, when they, you know, wrote him off or, you know, said he was a boozer or whatever. And don't get me wrong, he's had his troubles, and he's had adversity, and he's had injustice, and he's had some really troubled times as Ronnie. But we all have, I think, we've all had our troubled times at times if you're a little bit older and you've gone through that. And as much as I didn't want to, let me tell you, the venom that you get from that, from riding them storms, and from, you know, coming through, you know, playing with hardly no boots and no sole on, you know, you give me a proper pair of boots, you know, I'll be even better. In fact, no, probably the same actually. But, you know, it doesn't matter to me, you know, what I've got on. My feet will do the work. But I think that adversity that you go through makes you. And I speak to some young people now at times, and, you know, I say, you know, what has, you know, happened to here? And not a lot, quite frankly. So we're really lacking experience. And quite frankly, I might play somebody and they haven't got that toughness. It's just not there. And I can see I'm going to beat them before I've even gone on the court or on the pitch. I just know, you know, I'm too strong for them mentally. You know, and I don't know whether it's, like I said, the stories that me and other people like yourself and Ronnie have been through, you know, that gives us that extra venom, because when the going gets tough, people like us, we get tougher. We excel. When the crowd boos, I start showboating. I start coming out into another level. Start doing all these Cruyff turns. I don't know what happened. I surprise myself sometimes, but I'm so, pumped up. And once I'm free, and I don't care about abuse from the crowd. I never have. In fact, they've always abused me, always. And I love it. I absolutely love it, because I know that I'm hurting them. I know that I'm having an effect on them. So, you shout at me all you want, it's fine. And they don't really get a reaction. They might get a smile. But I've never argued with anybody in the crowd any time. Oh, no, I did. My mum, actually. No, my mum. I was in playing for Everton against Leeds United, at Leeds United. And a few friends and family were in the crowd. And I think I pulled someone's shirt. I went, pulled. And everybody went, boo. And I looked up at it with my mum. Couldn't believe it. But that was just funny, So, yeah, I've always took a little bit of stick because I've always been a hard player, really. So, I don't go in there with a little fairy tackle. I'll probably go through you and put you in the stand and then spit on you. I'm only kidding, Luke. I do know. That's
I love
just
that, though.
That's where I'm at.
But if I was a manager of a women's team, right, and I was doing several recruitments for players, and you were one of the players which I was interviewing now, right, I'd be like, do you know what? There's a 5-year contract right there, because that's the kind of mentality I love to have in my team, the kind of personality. Whereas another manager might sit here and listen to you and go, oh, I don't want to manage any of that. That might bring me a lot of stick and, might cause me some issues. Whereas I'm going, do you know what? I'm having a let's get her on the team, because that's the mindset I love to instill. And when it comes down to these sort of, those moments where you're even saying, right, I haven't even hit my peak and you're at 50, I'm like, do you know what? That is the mindset that I live by. And when people say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, or that's not the way the world works. Why can't it work that way? Why can't we do it? Why can't we break the barriers? Why can't we break those shackles? Why do we have to be the people who have to conform, fall in line because that's the way we say something? Actually, it's people like you who think in separate ways that separates, performers away from everyone else, because they're thinking of doing things that other people can't, or no effect of slowing down. They still want to achieve, no matter what age or what time, no matter what's happening in terms of any interest that has presented themselves in front of them, they still want to achieve.
Absolutely, yeah. And you just got to keep going. And I don't really listen to anybody. I don't listen to or compare myself to anyone. Nobody really says anything to me anyway, because they know that. So there's no point, really. And even news, I think sometimes I'm quite old-fashioned, like I said, and I'm not massive on phones and technology, and I do get by. But I thought the phone was for my convenience, not yours. So I'm quite busy, and people say, oh, you didn't get back to me. Yeah, I'm very busy, not even necessarily always working, but I don't want to be on the phone all the time and all day. So, you won't get hold of me. And therefore, I'm not actually exposing myself to all the talk. If I'm not listening to all the podcasts, and I'm not listening to, I listen to yours, Luca, because I'm on. But if I'm not listening to, all the news that is all negative and bad, and you can't do this, and starting to bring new rules up, I don't listen. I'm not conforming in this world. I'm not conforming. You're talking absolute nonsense. And I'm not conforming. I'll give you an example of that. The road signs today are unbelievable. I passed one yesterday. It said this: narrow lanes for your safety. Well, I'm not being funny, Luca. There's nothing safe about narrow lanes. So even that statement, don't lie to me and tell me it's for my safety, because it isn't. Wide lanes are for my safety. That's like saying jump in the deep end for your safety. That's what that's like saying. So we're backwards coming forwards with certain things. And it's just a lot of nonsense. So I don't listen to it. I don't read and watch a lot of television all the time. And I like that, because it's not filling my head with people who want to try and change things. I've got a very, direct mind, a mindset where I'll do what I want, when I want, within reason. Within reason, I confer to rules and things. I'm not a rule breaker in any way. I'm very respectful. But at the same time, I can't change the way I am as a person, because that's why I've got all. Well, I'll give you an example. I touched on this on the podcast, but somebody had said to me that one of my players had a problem with hostility and actually a bit of my aggression actually at tennis. And I said, well, I'm very sorry about, I really am sorry to hear that, but I can't do anything about that because I can't change. Otherwise I won't play as well. The reason I've got 25,000 trophies here in my cupboard is because I'm exactly like that. So I can't change that. They'll have to work on that issue if that's an issue, because football and sport, I can't wrap it up and in cotton wool. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really difficult at times. It's going to be sad. We're going to cry. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be nasty, bordering nasty at times. And I don't want to get nasty. That's not what I want to do. But if we're getting nasty, I'll be in there nasty, within reason, along the rules, of course. But I will give as good as I get. And if you want me to back off and then fine, but you won't have any trophies in your cupboard. That's fine. So, I'm sorry that other people have an issue with maybe, the crowd booing, for example. Well, they've got to deal with that issue, because they're not going to make that progress that they want to if they've got a problem with the crowd booing, because I'm sorry to break it to you, the crowd are going to boo. They might even rip your hairstyle because it's in a ponytail. And there's nothing wrong with it being in a ponytail, by the way, but just because they want to attack you in any way. So, we'll practice that. I'll call you a few names. It's fine. I'm joking. And but that's how my sessions are. We have a little bit of fun with it. And, it lights it up a little bit, lightens it up. And if they go onto the pitch and somebody does shout anything about the hairstyle, then they will be prepared for it. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, I can't lie to you and say it's all going to be sweetness and light and you're going to pick up trophies. Goodness gracious, it's such a difficult, hard sport. And if you're a champion like me and in eliteness, then goodness gracious, it's not easy. We have got to deal with so many, any athlete or sportsman, we're characters. We are a breed. And we are very different from the average in many ways. And first of all, we need to recognize that athletes and sportsmen and women are different to your average. 100%. And they are very driven. They are very self-critical. And, they have high expectations, usually much higher than is even achievable, which is often the problem. And so I can relate to all that, which is great. And, because I am a sportswoman myself, I have all them traits myself that I have to deal with. And hopefully I deal with them very well. But it's been years of practice. And like I said, I'm coming into my own a little bit, even at 50, because I'm not stupid now. Before I was stupid, I'd do stupid shots. I'd do stupid passes, but now I'm not, because I think, Chantel, don't be stupid because you're going to lose it. Just play it safe. Just for now, until I get my confidence, and then boom, we'll go again. So yeah, so it's good. It's good. I enjoy that side of it, and you can see obviously the passion, will come through a little bit when I'm playing, and how I prepare and mentally for the games myself.
Even this week, right, I was listening to Tim Grover, and Tim Grover was Kobe Bryant's manager, right, and part of his interview was energy. Everything you do with number one rule is energy. And even the way you're talking to me now, everything that you say is fueled by energy and the way that is coming across. So imagine being sat in the changing room and you're giving a team talk. Imagine being that athlete in front of you. And that's what you want. And I hate having team talks where I'm like, oh my God, I'm reserving or listening to this other manager and they're just roning on at this sort of team. And I'm even watching the players, they're like itching their head, they're looking at the wall, they're just doing anything. I'm like, this is lacking energy, and your energy is what's going to inspire these players right now, or it's going to change it, or it's going to resonate with them. You lecturing on at them for 20 minutes isn't going to resonate that far.
No, and I think, like I said, I could have gone into all sorts. I possibly could have gone into commentating, management, coaching. I didn't want that for every Sunday to do that. I would have probably been a great manager because, yeah, absolutely, I can hold a room without a doubt. I'm not a speaker. I'm not an inspirational speaker, nothing like that. But if I had to be that, I could probably do that. But I have chose to work mentally with players because I know that I'm good at that, and that I can get the best out of them and help them in that way. Now, I could help managers and I could help teams by being a manager, but there are a lot of managers about, and it's flooded there, but there isn't so much there to help them, make them aware of that they're not playing to the full potential, and focus on individuals as well. So the management thing wasn't a thing for me, but I do think, I'd have probably been good at it. And it's disappointing when you do see, unfortunately, standards I think have dropped, definitely, and passion has dropped and energy has dropped. And I think whatever job you do, you should get out of bed. And absolutely, I've put my tracksuit on to speak to you. My shoes, my trainers, I'm in the house. There's no flip-flops on. I've actually, got ready like I were playing a match. And that's my standards. And obviously I'm on time and everything. And that's important to me. But I think standards have dropped. And I think, if man management is a whole new subject of so important is man management. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not get man managed. And if you're like me, on a personality, and absolutely I do have one, I'm not your average. And I think you do get misjudged. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think you are a certain type of character that needs handling. And I needed handling, and in the right way. And I've had some some managers who didn't handle me well. Well, they didn't get a lot out of me, quite frankly. And I probably rebelled and give them what they want. So if they were said I was smoking, I'd probably go around and have a cigarette round back. Terrible. But, that were the immaturity in me, so I still have got that immaturity in me. But, it's the man manager is so important. And then Julie Chipchase, Paul Edmonds, actually, of Doncaster Belles. When I went to Doncaster, I was quite young. All the stars in the England team set up there. And he was a very calming manager, to the point, not a ranter and raver. And I like Paul. He got a lot out of me and man managed me really well. But Julie Chipchase, unfortunately, the late Julie Chipchase, whose legacy we're always promoting to help female coaches, she was just amazing, and she managed me so well. I loved Chippy. I loved her, and she loved me. And she used to call me DBS, dead ball specialist, because once at training we were doing it, we're pouring down with rain, Doncaster, mucky field, and we were practicing free kicks. I think I was the free kick taker, sweet left foot, and I was trying to get it to this player, but I just kept scoring. Back at net, 5 on trot, just like that. And she went, Shani, I can't believe it. She said, your name now is DBS, dead ball specialist. And I said, I'll take that. And now I milk that for everything I can now, and I tell everybody my name was DBS, dead ball specialist. But I did take a lot of spot kicks and things. But she managed me well, and don't get me wrong, I know I've talked about being quite hard of, you should be doing exactly what the team should be doing, but there are the odd exception, I think, to that, where once I really didn't want to go to London. We were playing Arsenal, and I'm not joking. Back then, remember, we didn't get paid. I had a job. I worked for Leeds United, and I didn't want to go away. And I wasn't even 100% football lover, actually. Even then, I was just good at it. But I could have done any sport. But I just were coaxed into that. So I think, I played the football. I forgot what I was saying now. I'm sorry. What was I saying now?
It's not a problem. It's after dead ball specialist, being man managed.
That was it. So there was a trip to Arsenal, and I didn't want to go. And I said to Chip, I really don't want to go on the Friday. I don't want to watch all football match at day and all. I don't work well with that, mate, at all. And she said, you know what, Shani, if you want to come down on Sunday morning with Sammy, then these were another player, Sammy, then you can do that. And I said, you know what, I love you forever. And I remember going down there, and I played the game. I played really, really well, and I don't think I would have played that well if she would not have been a little bit. And we didn't do that all the time, don't get me wrong. But on that day, she did let me, and I was so pleased about that, So man management, if Mario Balotelli is another player who, again, you're borderline crazy or you're borderline brilliant, but you really do need to. We're a bit eccentric, we are. Absolutely, and it's not a bad thing. I don't say that as a downside of it. In fact, it can make us better sometimes. But off the field, we have to really, 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 because I know what I'm like. Everybody else is like that if you're elite. And I came off the tennis court the other day, and I think I nearly had a row with my mum and my family because I was so wired. I was so wired when I come off that. I had to really put everything into that game to be able to win that match. And I don't think anybody appreciates how difficult that was to actually implement, and then I just need to go home and then just come down. It's like a kettle boiling. I just need to come down. So often after a match, just need that downtime to just come down a bit. But man management, you manage somebody really, really well, they will run the earth for you. And, I would have, saved Chippy in the road if I had to, I would have run over Cole for her. And that is just because she bigged me up a lot. And she kind of said I would, she gave me that confidence. You're brilliant, Chantel. And you know what I mean? I love that. But if someone's saying to you, you know what, you didn't do that, and why didn't you do that? And that left back took you there. How's that going to do anything for you? It's not. And then you get in your head all sorts of paranoia. The manager don't like me. He thinks this and thinks that. And it's not actually true. And if you came to me, I'd say, well, how can we change the manager's mind? How can we show him what he's not expecting? If he's saying you're not listening, let's listen. And the next time, do exactly what he said. And he'll go, what? So let's change it. But it might not be that he doesn't like you at all. But I don't think some men or women have even got that in them to be that man manager, if that makes sense. Some people really care and are passionate about the people, and other people are getting out of bed and just doing the motions. Some players are just getting out of bed and doing the motions. And I would look and go, wow, why are you not doing more? If we had our boots, surely we would be doing more. Man management's so important. And I was man managed really well by Julie Chipchase, who, really, really helped me and gave me that confidence, and I would have done anything for her. But others, I might not have turned up.
Now, I think I've got a feeling who you're going to say in terms of those other managers, but it's great that you have that relationship with that manager. And I like that the way that you portray and bring across that man management to life, right? Because sometimes I think some of the kids that I have in school, I know this is away from sport a little bit, but it is man management within itself. And sometimes there's a systematic management where there is rules and we have to conform and we have to get kids to learn in certain ways, right? But I think sometimes that some people are so operational in the way that they like to manage people, that it is all about the system that follows, where I'm more like, well, let's be hands-on, let's manage them this way. And I see a very opposing view to the way they manage sometimes, because I'm like, there's a character in there and we need to nurture and flourish this character rather than trying to chip it away from them and have them conforming at all times, because the character is what's going to make them. The character is what's going to give them opportunities in life to overcome adversity, to make sure if they struggle academically that they will go on and perform, because they have that personality, they have the opportunity to connect with people, they're very good at all those different skills, and their academic record might say otherwise, but all these skills, I would take them as a job in a job, because I know they'd be very good on the front line, they'd be great in sales, they'd be great at customer service, and he's got all these different skills. So I'm very big on man management. I'm very big on personality, especially in my football teams and the way that comes across. So I think it's very important how you manage each individual, understand what their needs are. But before we go on to that manager sort of extension, just exploring that a little bit, when you were in the dressing room, right, as a player, and you were wanting to be managed and man managed, and you look at the group around you and you look at high performance, you look at that focus that you had and the way that you've gone into maybe games back then, right? When you had other players around you, and you talk about it then about why aren't we doing more? Why are you just getting that? Why are you not achieving more within your day, right? But when you're around other players within those teams, and there's so many different personalities, and you've got different squad types, etc., did you find it hard to resonate with those who didn't have that up and go, who didn't have that energy and didn't have that mindset to achieve, right, everything that we play for is a winning game. Everything is about winning the trophies. Everything is about high performance. Everything is about success. Did you find that difficult to connect with those players?
No, because they weren't there. There wasn't any. There wasn't any. We all had I wouldn't be in the team if there were players like that. In fact, I left Leeds United once. Well, be careful what I say. I left Leeds United once because there was the manager just at that time was not the best at all, really not the best for many reasons. And the team was very unhappy. And they had a vote to see, what we should do, an internal vote. And all the hands went up to vote for the manager out, So we said, OK, let's bring him in. And then he said, who voted to vote me out? And me and another person put their hand up and nobody else did. Nobody else did. And then that were it. That were it. That was the end of Leeds United. I said, I'll see you all later. It's been nice knowing you. Bye. And left and went to Everton. And the simple reason for that was we're either together or we're not. We're either together or we're not. You've just talked. We've just had a decision. We've just made our mind up. And you have not all got the backbone to put your hand up, do what the best is for this team. And I don't want to play with somebody like that. So I'll see you later. And as much as it was, hardcore kind of, that was it. I'm not doing it. So every team I've played in, every player has been exactly the same as me. And I was surrounded by champions. I was surrounded by Jill Coulthard. How can I go in a changing room and not be inspired by that? How can I sit there and why would I want to have earphones on or anything and miss all this? I'm sat there and I've got Jill, who's got the most serious face ever. There's no laughing going on. I want to secretly laugh, but there's no laughing going on. She is so purely focused, saying, come on now. She's getting us all riled up. She's sitting down, she's pulling her socks up 55 times, and making sure her jumper's right, and her socks are up and standards straight away before she's even gone out on the pitch. Every other player's either sitting reflective, reading a programme, or just having a little giggle amongst themselves. Every player is different in the changing rooms. The toilet was very busy, naturally. And I wasn't someone who suffered that way in any way with sickness or anything. I was really calm and really placid. But then you'd speak to somebody like Kaz Walker. Goodness gracious, terrible, terrible. In sweating before she went out, sweating. She like that water on her. Water all spraying her like that with water. We hadn't even gone out yet. But when she went out on the field, she probably bagged 2 goals. But prior, if you'd have seen her 15 minutes ago, she were a mess. But, it was just, she wanted it so much, you could, come on. She just wanted it, and she was sweating. She'd played 90 minutes before she'd gone out. So I'd probably have a word with her now and say, conserve your energy, Kaz. But at the time, I didn't realise, and every player, some sat in a corner just on their own. Some were messing about with the bags, some were reading. Manager kept coming in and out. Come on, lasses, get yourself ready. Jill's like, come on, you know what we need to do. We know what we need to do. So we were all, before we even stepped on that pitch, we're together, and we knew what job we had to do. And every one of them players wanted to play and wanted to win that game. Else they just would not have made that side. There was 11 or out of the 11 elite. I was very privileged and honoured to play with Doncaster Belles. You got Jill Coulthard, Kaz Walker, Gail Bowman, and Gail and Kaz are my friends still to this day. And I always say to Gail, you're my hero. And she goes, give up. I say, no, Gail, you're my hero. I said, I remember when I were at England, and God, I just thought, who's this woman? And you were taking everyone on, and you did this chip, and it floated right over into that. And I thought, wow. And that were you. And we laugh now, she goes, don't, because she's retired. I said, Gail, you were a right player, and I could go down all 11, of players, Jan Murray, Tracy Davidson, Jackie Sherrard, what a legend, Michelle Jackson. I could run through them all. And every player were in their own right, absolutely strong as an ox. And I had that faith in my team, and they had the faith in me. There were no hiding players. Everybody wanted the ball. Or quite frankly, you'd probably be took off. So, and that were really raw stuff of like, Doncaster, like down in pit, pictures were filthy. My dog kept running on pitch. It were just, and even then, with no money or no kind of help or guidance, we had that just before. I think it's come from birth. I actually do. I do believe you are born a champion, actually. I think you can make possibly a champion, but I think there's champions that are just born, and they are just instilled with that mentality of, I don't know whether it's upbringing or I don't know whether it is DNA. I'm not sure, but certainly explore that. But all of these people were from working class families who didn't have a lot, yet they had more passion and desire than I've seen in any footballer today at times. And I'd like to see more. And maybe money is tarnishing the game at times, and that's another subject. But there is a lot of money around, and people can forget things, that they are just a footballer at the end of the day.
And I think that's the difference between those who are there for personality, those who are there because the game gives them image and the game elevates them to do different things, or those who are real winners deep down and want to keep achieving. And that's why when people talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, right, he's 39 and still pushing himself. Regardless of whatever league he's playing in, he is still a captain. He's still starting. He's still playing. He's still scoring goals. He's still with his national team. He's scoring in, the national game the other day. And that is high performance for me. And that is someone who wants to keep playing and gain a World Cup or playing a World Cup in 2 years' time at the age of 41. And that's incredible scenes. You look at Pepe, who's just retired, but if Ronaldo keeps scoring and he keeps getting the levels which he's at, I think that is, one of the greatest achievements of all time, to really be up there and have that. And I think that's the difference, as you say, in terms of separating yourself to be a champion and being born with it and being around high performers. And certainly in those environments, when you've got all those players like you listed in those 11 for Doncaster Belles, that's what makes the difference in training. That's what sets the standard for match day. And if you're not performing to the levels which are expected of you by your teammates, then you really aren't performing at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I was really, it was good that I had the honour to be around them, that quality, a calibre of player. And so many times Jill Coulthard has shown me up and when I look back, not at the time, but I remember doing a cross country run and I was like middle of Doncaster. In fact, I didn't see anybody for like an hour. I thought about getting the bus. I didn't see anybody. It was just these dark country roads. And then I was like, oh, no, just going around the motion. Didn't really like running really much. Next minute, Jill, like the road runner, just shot past me. Whoosh, like that. And she went, come on, run with me. I thought, oh no, like that. And now I have to run with her. And we got back, and I'm not kidding, I was absolutely blowing, nearly passed out that day. But it just shows you that was me going through the motion. And then at Jill, road runner, went straight past me. In training, we're doing headers. I go up, boom, next one, toddle back, next one. Jill's next to me, woo, like this, doing 5 to my 2. And I was just like, oh, right, okay, maybe do a bit quicker. So quicker, like Jill's doing quicker, come on. But you didn't realise back then, I didn't realise what I could do. That. She was another level. And so you aspire to be like that. And she always said to me, actually, she tells me off a lot. She said that number 3 shirt should have been yours for a lot longer. And you should have been, far more of a bigger career than you did. And I think she tells me off and blames me for not doing more. But I'm like, well, what? I don't know. I didn't even know what more I could do. I thought I was doing things. I thought I was trying, but obviously not. But I didn't know to do better. And again, that's what I do now, where I can say, actually, no, you can do more. Or, there's more to achieve, or let's step it up a gear, really. I didn't know I could.
But and when you say you walked away from the game, right, because it just didn't fulfill you at that time. And you talk about moments there with Doncaster Belles and being in those environments and being with those players, although you might have been ready to have walked away from the game on your own terms, right? And I think that's a very prestigious thing to do internally, because the game can sort of finish players at times, and that can be the worst sort of scenario. Walking away on your terms, I think, gives a lot to you in terms of what you've achieved, what you're happy with, and all those different circumstances and other intricacies. But whilst you walked away and you look at those environments that you've left behind and with those players, was a little bit of you just chipped away because you knew you wouldn't be in that environment with those players on that pitch in those moments again?
I think... well, yes and no. I think with England, like I said, the whole point of playing football for me is to play the ultimate, and that is to play for my country. Now, if I haven't got that in front of me, not what's the point, because that's a very negative thing to but really, what's the point? You know, I could play with these players for another 2 years, to be honest, but I aren't going to progress myself. So yeah, I'm going to have a nice time, but I'm not going to grow and progress. Or I am going to grow and progress, and then not even going to have that chance to play for England again. So why am I wasting my time? You know, I'd rather not bother waste 2 years playing with them people. Even I was quite happy to leave them behind, because the ultimate to me, whether it had or not at that time was another question. But in my head, the ultimate had gone. It had been taken away. The rug had been pulled from me. And I said, well, if that's the way you're going, I'm out of here too. And 2 fingers up to you, because I don't want to be part of that neither. And, you know, I didn't even think so much about it. I just left. I'm very much like that. You know, I just left. It was very easy to leave. Nobody said, Chantel, stay. You know, Chantel, don't go. I said, see you later. That were it. And I wasn't very social neither, to be fair. So I didn't have loads of friends out at the game where I said, I'll see you Friday. You just didn't see me. That were it. Gone.
And then when you sort of have your 1 cap right, do you wish you had more caps?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I look back now, like I said, I've no regrets, but, you know, I do look back and think, gosh, you know I should have done more. And it's a bit disappointing, I think. It's disappointing to look back and go, you know what, Chantel, you should have and could have done more, actually. And, you know, I'm disappointed that I didn't get the chance to showcase my true ability. And I think there's been a certain amount of, you are held back, you know, even from, you know, playing in school. Like I said, you're not encouraged to play. I've been discouraged, you know, even at tennis now. I entered the LTA over 40s tournament, or over 45 start. I said, come on then, Yorkshire. Who's having me? Let's have it. Nobody entered. I said, well, have I won? They said, no. I said, well, by all rights, I should have won, because nobody's come to play me. Anyway, they weren't having that. But the point is, you know, and that's another thing. People don't always like competition. There's a lot of people who like to play, have a little kick around, have a little hit. As soon as you tell them it's a match, then everything's changed. Like my partner, the ladies doubles lady, you have a little hit with her. She's brilliant. You put her in a match, she hit everyone out. Every shot out. Couldn't believe it. I said, what's happened? What's happened? She said, oh, I don't know. It's just the word match got mentioned. Never mind final match. Just match. And people. Little key words got mentioned, and that were it. She'd out of the game. So what I was saying was about the England and leaving the game.
Yeah, I was just looking back in that thought of no regrets, but wish you had more caps and, you know, grabbing that a little bit more.
So, regarding caps, I should have had more, and that's disappointing. But, you know, we can't cry over spilt milk. I didn't. It's as simple as that. And I just don't want anybody else to look back and be disappointed in their career like I was. I want them to fulfill and get everything that they can out of the sport that they've chosen. You know, and that's disappointing, because I could have been at Wimbledon. Like I said, I could have been a tennis player, but I chose football. So to not fully, and I did achieve, but not fully achieve to what I wanted. You know, I thought I'd made it. I'll be honest with you. I thought I'd made it. I thought I was going to reap all the successes for the coming years. I've been with England for 4 years, like I said, and they primed me and said, don't worry, you won for the future. You'll be all right. Jill had to wait 2 years for her first cap. I remember John Bilton saying to me, I said, all right, well, can it not be as long? You know, so he said, don't you worry about time, you know, you just pick everything up. All right, John, thanks. And then John got sacked. And then obviously Ted came in and dropped me, ended it, finished it. And I wasn't expecting it, because I thought I was part of the team. I thought I'd got my feet under the table a little bit 4 years. You know, it wasn't just a one-off match. I've been to Bisham Abbey, I've been to Lilleshall, I've been to the European Championships, you know, and to drop me just before the World Cup was very, very harsh and very wrong, in my opinion, to do that to an individual and to give them the excuse of I was wearing the wrong attire. Because I really was hardworking and committed, and, you know, just went about my business. Yeah, I had a personality. I laughed a little bit. You know, I got caught with some silly trousers on. You know, it's not the end of the world. I didn't mean bad. Didn't affect my performance on the pitch. You know, So I did some, once an example. And again, on a lot of things that I look back on and I'm disappointed, I'm almost ashamed to tell you, really, because, it's embarrassing, really. But, another example is, and somebody said to me the other day, do you remember, because I've got a terrible memory. And I don't know, Michelle Jackson said to me the other day, I roomed with her at England training, and she said to me, do you remember when we slept in for training? And I said, no, I cannot even remember that. What? And she said, and now she said it, I do remember it. And I tell you what exactly happened. We rang the reception, because I remember saying we had to be up early. There were no mobile phones, remember? No one had a mobile, just an alarm clock. And I rang reception and I said, can you wake, or Michelle did, and I said, can you wake us up at 7:30 or whatever it was, 7 o'clock for training? Yes, no problem. We'll put a call on for you. Next minute, never came. The call never came. Yeah, we get up. Obviously, they're all on pitch. Couldn't believe it. Absolutely mortified. We both went with our heads shamed. And I think he said to just go around pitch a couple of times for starters. That what it said, just go around pitch. So really, maybe that got me. Again, there was a couple of things that just marked my card, but so innocently, so innocently. I didn't deserve that, and I wish I knew what hotel it was, because I'd be going back there now. But I'm only kidding. But, it was so disappointing. I put my trust in somebody else to wake me up, and so had Michelle as well. And we both didn't last long. And that, how could I have prevented that? Took me on an alarm clock, absolutely. That was, we didn't have phones. Or, maybe got Michelle to do a backup. But again, this is another example, I would say, make sure your alarm's set. You know what I mean? Make sure you've got a backup, and John's going to come and wake you up at 7:30 if you are out. Just get a backup, because mine didn't go off, and actually it probably chipped away to another, nail in my coffin, really, without knowing it. And so, yeah, I've actually forgot a couple of little things, but there were very innocent things, honestly, that went against me. Very, unjust, I felt, and no understanding of the fact that there was no phones and they didn't ring us. No understanding of that. Obviously, the responsibility comes down to myself, and I absolutely put my hand up that it is down to me, and I made a mistake, and the consequence was quite very, very harsh, very harsh. So, yeah, it's disappointing, but what can you do? You're young. I was 17 to 21. I'm just young, I don't know about all these things of being prepared and having a driver to take me to the match. I was probably late because taxi didn't turn up, or train, or, so there's a lot of things out of your control that they maybe understand now. They're very more supportive, and also, they understand if you can't get to a game, or they will send a driver. But there was no understanding back then. It was, you were late, or you're not there. And again, I've got a million stories. I'll tell you this one more story, then I'll give you this one more. And this was, again, another reminder by somebody. And I've got the text. It's hilarious, my stories. And she said to me, do you remember when you got dropped? Again. Do you remember when you got dropped for eating a sausage? Right? And I said, do you know what? I do remember this, right? And this, again, was so innocently done, right? I'd had a breakfast all my life before I played. Egg, bacon, beans, art sausages. I like a breakfast. That is my fuel. That's my energy. So I don't want cornflakes. I won't play well on cornflakes, right? But for years, I've done that, and had good games. Now, all through England, to be fair, at Lilleshall, there was an option of breakfast. Some bacon, and maybe not so much now, but, then there were. We didn't have the dietitians and nutritionists, said you couldn't have it. We were just in the hotel and getting breakfast. So I, as usual, was with the team getting breakfast. I was innocently getting breakfast. And Ted was the manager now. It's another nail in my coffin coming up. And so I'm at the breakfast table. A few players had gone, and then Ted had gone then. They'd gone, all the management. And then we're having a breakfast, and somebody had announced that Ted had banned sausages. And I said, sorry? And they said, no, Ted's banned sausage. You're not allowed sausages. And I was like, what do you mean we're not allowed sausages? He said, you're not allowed them. He's banned them. I was like, really? And then, being the cheeky chop that I am, I said, Sandra, can I have a sausage? Can I have a sausage? And yeah, she'd made me a sausage. So next minute I'm sat there, and then I think one of the, maybe again, assistant or one of the coach team came back and to talk to another player. Well, who came out just at that time? Sandra came out with my sausage. Couldn't believe it. She came out, she said, sausage for Chantel. I was like, oh, no, not me, not me. I said, it's Julie's. Julie's ordered it. I said, there, Julie. Obviously, Julie hadn't. I said, no, sorry, it is mine. Thank you, like that. And obviously got a dirty look. And then off it went. I never even worried and thought that was even an issue until, I was dropped. I can't remember what for. But I didn't play, because I had this sausage, really. And yeah, I understand that I shouldn't have had the sausage now. I do. But back then I didn't understand. That's just what I'd always done. And I was a little bit, I'd call it cheeky, not naughty. But some might say that, no, Chantel, it was naughty to do that. And we live and learn, but that is the experience. So again, look where cheekiness gets you. Sometimes, just having that personality, it's something Mario would do, but it's not funny. And we shouldn't do it. But that was 2 texts I got. Do you remember when I got dropped for sleeping in? Yeah, thanks. I remember when I got dropped for having a sausage. Yeah. It's a funny story, Luca, but it's very true. And you can't believe this story, you can't believe it, can you? That would even happen, because we have nutritionists, we have dietitians now who are on what you eat. But back then, you looked after yourself and you ate whatever you wanted to within reason. And I didn't say I was stupid. I only had one of them, not 2, but that was just my preparation. So without that, actually, it mentally affected me when he banned sausages. So never mind, Ted dropping me for not having a sausage. How about looking about, what mentally worked for me? I'm joking. But it's interesting, isn't it?
I think it's very interesting, especially, when you come out with those stories and, some way, they're very, very enjoyable, laughable stories. But when you think of you on the other side of that, it's actually quite harsh as well. It's quite a sad way as well.
Yeah.
No, it's just like you feel for you so much in the way that you say that as well. And do you think a bit of it was, manager's identity in the way that he wanted to select the squad? Because we see it now, right, where a new manager comes in and they decide, right, these players aren't for me, and they start to phase out. We see it with Chelsea right now, where Raheem Sterling, bang, phased out, not part of the squad. Was that a little bit, because you talked about John Bilton and he was talking about the future, and you say he had an impact on you, and then Ted comes in and you've had a couple of these nails in the coffin, like you said there. But was it a little bit, do you think, was, Chantal isn't a player for me, and then this is a way of phasing her out of the team in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. I gave them the ammunition that they needed to cull me, if that's what they wanted to do. And absolutely, every manager that you ever get, and it's a very changing, industry where different managers, and it's nice for the England ladies at the minute to have a regular manager in Serena, where they can build and also, be united as a team with that stability. But for me, I didn't really have that. And especially with the England setup, I was seeing managers come and go. They didn't really last a year before there was a changeover. And some kept with the current squad. And this new manager, he was a very new age manager from an academy. At that time, all the football academies were going up. And, with the start of that, so all the football academies were going up. And it was close to some of the players, I think, as well, which possibly influenced certain things. I think some players can have a heavy influence on the team, with the things that they say. And Ted definitely had an agenda. He came knowing what kind of players he liked, what kind of players he didn't want. He was very much more of a sergeant major, of a dictator, rather than he wasn't approachable. He wouldn't ever go and knock on his door and go and speak to Ted. I wouldn't even dare approach him. He's very stern and not very friendly and giving, not very smiley. You couldn't read him very well, so it left you not knowing kind of who he was. But I don't think he personally liked anybody with a personality, like I said. And it wasn't just me. Joanne Broadhurst, she was the funniest person ever. She got culled at the same time as well. But I don't know how she worked her way back in. She actually got back in. But at the time, she went, because I thought, well, if I'm going, Joanne's got to go. Fash, she's got to go, because she's nuttier than me. in a funny way. So he got rid of about 5 players, actually. I think there were even Kerry Davis, again, the first black female player, I think, that we had. And she had a great career, and he ended her career more, I think, at the same time as mine. So there wasn't just me who got culled. There was 2 or 3 or 4 players that he decided that wasn't in his plans, which is fine. It happens. That is football. And I'm sad that I wasn't in his plans. And actually, I felt he didn't give me enough of a chance to show who I was. He didn't know me. He wasn't interested in my character. And actually, I think he misjudged me. I think he made a judgment or perceived me of a certain way. Maybe he even heard rumours, Chantel's a little bit vacant. I'm not vacant, absolutely not vacant at all. So I don't know whether you're listening to somebody rather than actually speaking to me. You'd find out I'm actually very intelligent, I'm very intelligent and on the ball, and I'm picking up exactly what you're putting down. The other thing was, again, on the funny thing was, on the day of my debut, it was a terrible day, actually, because a lot of things had happened. Jill got a captaincy took off of that day. So it wasn't a happy particular camp, and the environment and the atmosphere was awful, to be honest, awful. And I went on and played the first half, and I knew I was going to play the first half. And he said to me, don't do it. He said to everybody, don't do what was stupid kind of thing. Oh, well, sorry, here we go. So what do? Right, first thing I do, I go take out an Italian. Phew, she flew in the air, flew. And honestly, I went, ref, I'm going like this, ref. Honestly, I'd give a 10 for that. That was the biggest dive I never touched her, but obviously it didn't look good. Next minute, and even Kaz Walker said to me the other day, the last time I saw her, she said, Shani, she said, do you remember when you did an overhead kick on line? And I said, oh, God, that's another one. It keeps coming to haunt me, Luca. And yeah, I did. But instead of seeing that as a class act of, what a shot, what a overhead kick she cleared offline, it was deemed as, gosh, look, she's just done an overhead kick on the line. Well, surely I've stopped a goal. So whether I've kicked it or hoofed it, I just happened to give a bit more class on the line and actually got penalised for it. But, Kaz was joking, kind of said, do you remember? And I said, yeah, I know, it was a brilliant kick, wasn't it? Brilliant. But maybe that was seen as, again, being a bit stupid. I would see it as being, I was in the right place at the right time and did what I needed to do. But so I don't know how he perceived all that, but definitely it was wrong. He got the wrong impression. He got the wrong end of the stick. And a letter came through the post to say I'd been dropped just before the World Cup for because I were in 1995, the World Cup was 96. And that my dress code reflected my attitude, which insulted me even worse. So they didn't just drop me. They kicked me while I were down. They said, not only are you out of the England squad, we're actually going to attack your values. We're going to question why you're there and say that I'm not working hard or my attitude and mindset is not right. When it absolutely was. Absolutely. I've been there 4 years. I've been there 4 years. John was priming me. If John had stayed, I reckon I'd have had another 5 years. I think I would have gone on to be more of a legend, if you like. Not that was important, but I would have fulfilled more of my dreams and played in the World Cup. Who doesn't want to play in the World Cup? So it was so upsetting. And I haven't talked about it a lot, I really haven't. I'm not one to go on podcasts. This is new to me. So a lot of people will bring out some raw things from me. And it was very upsetting, that to me. But I'm okay. I'm well over it. I don't ever think, what ifs or regret and want to go and, knock on Ted's door and run away. Well, I have to. But it's the past. And I believe, like I said, your journey is your journey and everybody's journey is different and will be different paths. And for whatever reason, that wasn't my journey to go on and progress with that. I went down another route. Yes, definitely lessons learned. And they have made me the person that I am today, if you like. And that's why I win so many trophies, because I'm still so mad.
And I think you've channeled it in the right way, and I'm glad that you're still having success. And what finds, the happiness within you deep down from what has been, a very challenging and frustrating part of your life, because you can never go back and change that. But as you say, you can only live with it. You've channeled it in a different way where you're now excelling in other ways. But I know you said you don't want to knock on Ted's door, right? But when I'm just sitting there listening to you, right, and whatever life he's living at this point, that decision still lives with you and still has a big effect on you, and you can never go back and change that. And he's just, living whatever he's doing right now, and that decision probably doesn't even cross him in a second thought, but it still is very much a forefront of you. And I think that's difficult sometimes, and I think that's where your man management, that's where your actual position of the squad comes down. I think that's the difference in terms of a leader and an operator, and someone who wants to really connect and resonate with the players. And it is a shame you didn't have more caps, but at least you've got a cap to talk about and look about. At least you got the Doncaster Belles story and the girls that you talk about there, and the names you mentioned and relationships you have and the stories which you still pull up, and you talk about that together now, and you talk about champions and high performance. For me, that's what achievement and success has been for you, out of adversity and some of the tough moments which you faced.
I think sometimes in life you find something more than you was actually looking for. Even when I told that story on the podcast about one of my clients who is a footballer, is a top elite footballer, but actually that isn't enough for him to be that. He wants more for himself and wants to challenge himself more. So to go on and do an ultimate Ironman with his best friend who's got half a leg, who am I to say don't do it? My goals are your goals. And if you want that, I want that for you. And if you can achieve that, that is such an achievement. It's not just about football, but that original boy came and just wanted to be, all he wanted was a professional footballer. I want to be a professional footballer. That's all he wanted. And we discovered that actually that's not what you were looking for. Yes, you did, but look what you found while you were looking for that. You found so much more, and it has sent you into another direction because you found you've got more in you than actually football can give. And that's amazing in itself to, find that in somebody. So a little bit like myself, I didn't sign up to know all what I know, but because I have been through that, then that sets me up to go, well, I understand that because I've been there. And, living with it, yeah, absolutely. Harsh things happen, injustice happens, that is life. And the sooner we digest that, accept it and move forwards, then you can be something again. And that didn't stop me being a champion, even in my own right in tennis now. Absolutely, I'm still a champion. I still, even though I didn't get the playing time, that I deserved, I still felt I've played it in a way. So even though I didn't have it, I still felt I was there. So that maybe helps me just put it in a box and move forwards. But it's not something I dwell on too much. It's just that we're talking about it now. I think my England time fondly. Played with a lot of good players, and had a really, really not so well. I'd say I look at it fondly. I did sometimes were fondly, but it wasn't a great experience for me playing for my country in the latter years. But I had some very good years where it was fantastic and professional as well. Even in that day, I remember. We didn't get paid for anything really, but when I played for England, they used to give us some expenses like money, for traveling. And so we kind of used to, well, what I did is I kind of said I'd gone to London via Millwall, via Derbyshire, and then I put in a bill for about £500 fuel, and that's how I got paid. Don't tell it it's going out. It's not good to go on a podcast that I've just said that now. But sometimes you have to be. No, I'm not bothered. You have to be a little bit underhand, where you have to do what you have to do in order to get paid some money to be able to live. And some people, they didn't take the absolute mick. We just tweaked it a little bit, so that it was right. We'd come out with, quite a few £100, which was a lot of money to us back then. When we went away on England duty, and then we'd get some money when we stayed away with them as well. So it was worth a nice little, wage to go with that. But the experience of playing for your country, you cannot put a price on it. I was so proud to put that shirt on, sing the national anthem, where, you know, I nearly said wear the tracksuit, but we know we're going to laugh at that joke now. But, you know, but I was so proud to have it on, just not that particular day. And I look back on that time as a huge achievement. And I know, no matter what anybody says, I know I was that number 3 player for another 5 years after that. It just got cut short. So whoever that player was after me, I should have been there for the next 5 years. But it was out of my control. So I couldn't deal with that. They said no. I said fine, and went on to do other things and get through that period the best I could.
And it's an incredible story, the way that you put that. But as that reflection towards the end, the way you spoke about that, and you circled back to how you talked about reflection at the start, I think that just sums up everything that you've emphasized right from the moment that we commenced this podcast episode. But just before we finish up, Chantel, what age did you start playing at, and what age did you finish and decide to walk away from the game?
I was 17. I started playing about 14 years old at Farsley Celtic, just where I went along and, like I said, saw potential. So that's where it started from, about 13, 14 years old. I used to play with my sister, actually. She used to play as well, but she was the one who was encouraging me to play, and I actually didn't want to. But as it turned out, I went on to play and she dropped out. So it was the other way. And I went on to play, and I always had in my mind, even when I was at Bradford City, when I was really young, I used to say, I'm only playing me till I'm 30. That I'm stopping at 30, I said. And I always had that figure in the back of my head. And I just remember one particular player who was a really older player, and she was playing, and I'm not kidding you, no disrespect to her. She just, shorts came up to her, and she was just really like old. And I said, I'm not going to be that left back who plays like that. I am not doing that. Don't let me turn into that kind of thing. And it was no disrespect. It was just that it probably time to hang up the boots. And I said 30 and I'm out. And it actually happened, 30 and I were out. So I played for Doncaster Belles. I won every medal there is to win in the game. So I won the League Cup, the League, and the FA Cup as well. So I've won all the medals there is to win that I could achieve at that time. And I also played and represented my country. And have the legacy cap to prove that now, which is brilliant. So I look back, I can't have really done any more other than prolong my England career. I actually achieved everything I set out to achieve, and the ultimate was to play for my country. It just would have been nice to have played a little bit longer, but it wasn't for me. So that's okay.
And I'm glad that you reflect back and you can talk about those successes, but the fact that you're still achieving is something definitely to inspire people by, because I definitely feel like, you know, sitting here talking to you, I'm like, oh my God, imagine being managed by Chantel. Imagine the kind of pep talk she'd give you. And that's the difference between even just listening to someone and bringing this to life, and the way that you talk about even achieving now up towards the age of 50, right? And you've got these finals coming up next week. And it's not just looking back on your England career, it's going, oh, you know what? England career was like almost 30 years ago now. But, you know, she's in a tennis final next week, and she's played in this other final, and she's inspiring players to win, and she's working with different athletes and mindsets, and she's got her own company. And it's like, when does this woman stop achieving, right? And I think that's the difference between a champion, as you said, and being cut from a different cloth.
I do still think, you know, it's half tempting. If I were 20 years younger, I could go back, because even I did have an injury, but I still think I could play. And even Paul Edmonds, when he sees me, he goes, flipping heck, Shani, he says, you look fit enough to play. You know, because everybody's there and they've had maybe a little bit of got a little bit of weight on them just from not playing, really. And that's, you know, that's okay. But I'm still ripped. You know, I'm still, you know, walking in, you know, my muscles are coming out, and it's like, flipping heck, Chantel. I'm like, honestly, if I had my boots now, I really do believe I could go on there and do a job in any team. Even now, you put me in the Manchester City team now, I will play. I do. That's the, again, mindset and mentality that I have, that I've actually still got it, and I could still play as good as any of them on that pitch and contribute. Maybe not for as long. Might be puffing a little bit more, Luca, but I could certainly. But it's tempting to do that, to be honest. It's tempting the more I get involved, because remember, initially, I didn't want to get into that side. So don't be influencing me, Luca, the management side. You know, I've settled on this mindset and mental thing because I really am passionate about it. and I'm very good up here myself. So I don't want to go into management at all. But it's tempting. The more I talk about it, I probably could, and I know Emma Hayes as well. I used to go out with Emma many years ago when a couple of mutual friends when she played for Arsenal and I played for Doncaster Belles. And I had a couple of players from Yorkshire who played at Arsenal as well, so my mates, so we used to hang out. So obviously I'm so proud of her that she's achieved what she's achieved, to go on to the USA, Olympics, etc. And Emma's really nice. She's funny, and she's similar. Again, we knock around with people who are like us. So that just shows you now how, and I've only just remembered that when I used to go out for a drink with Emma, and in London, the days in London, we had no money and all this, them were the days, and look where Emma is. And I'm not achieving what Emma's achieving, but I'm achieving differently. And we are both, that's probably why we got along, and we always did get on back then. Obviously, I've lost a little bit of touch with her now, as possibly we all have. But she knows me very well, and Johnny, kind of thing. And she had one of the foulest mouths in football.
Yeah, she is. I've seen the Chelsea documentary, and even then, that's high performance and the standards that she instills and what she expects of her players. And it's incredible to see what she's doing with the US national team, especially going on and winning the Olympics straight away. And it'd be interesting to see whether she ever circles back and manages England at some point. But I think what she's achieved has been incredible. And even when you look at those moments, and you talk about those being champions and those that you talked about, right? Even when that, I think you were subbed off for Hope Powell, she even went on and managed England, and she's gone on to manage Brighton. And, when you talk about the different players that even in that environment, even if you're not close to them or not, they've all still gone on and achieved something. And I'm still talking about being part of that and being a winner yourself and going on to achieving other things in other ways. I think that's such a great cloth to be part of and such a great environment.
Absolutely. I think the Doncaster Belles team are something special. That team of when we did the treble is something special. I can't tell you, I will walk and see them now, and we can go in a room and there is a bond that cannot be broken by anything or anyone. And there is pure love there, not love and respect of we shared that time together. We had them moments together, and we were a team, and we might just see 3 or 4 of them, and it's like yesterday. It's just like yesterday. And we went to an event recently where we all got together, and the love in that room for each other, just privately, respect and hire and just giving up. We're really pleased to see each other, and we all think very similar. And some of us are in the game, and some of us are not in the game, but we're still the same people as we were. One went on to work for the police and things like that, and was a policewoman. A few of them are retired now, but there's still so much life to live, and so much to achieve, and so much to grow and fulfill in their own lives, that this mindset has never stopped. Like I said, I think it's instilled in you. I think you're born with it. And if you're born with a mind, that will never, ever leave you, even if you put in a new door on. I will do that door to a standard where I won't be happy if it's not on properly with the best screws and the, immaculate. There can't be no kind of things on it, OCD. But it's not, it's a quality. It's standards. And there is a limit to OCD, because some people do take it further, obviously. And that's, again, something that I would have to deal with and find out the reasoning behind that. So, but they will have it's standards. And I think, like I said, that mindset will never leave you, never. And we will still get in that room, and the camaraderie and the respect we have for each other. You can't put a price on it. You cannot put a price on it. And I love them girls. I don't speak to them often, but I reckon we could all unite and play again, because and take anybody on, because that is the champion mindset that we are. And every one of them players, like I said, I do not play with players who do not align with the values that I have and the goals that I have. I will not be in that team. You will not be in my team if you're going out to do your best. You're not in my team. I'm not picking you. I'm sorry about that. Go play in the park. But I'm there. If you tell me you're going to go out to win, you can be in my team. And it's very clear cut. There's no compromise. But there's no buts. There's no excuses. Yeah, but the pitch is wet. Yeah, the pitch is wet. So what we're going to have to do is keep it off the ground. Or we'll do this or we'll do that. But the excuses that come, really, there is no excuses. In order to be a winner, you need to overcome all the barriers and all the things that come on that day. Like, I don't like wind. I really don't like wind. I never liked wind when it was football, and I never like wind when it's tennis. And that is one of the things the other day on Tuesday, I was thinking, oh no, I've got a windmill outside it because I'm monitoring the wind, from the wind spinning round. I'm thinking, oh no, I hate wind. So now I'm going to have to, yes, it's the same for all of us. It's who deals with the wind best. That's the question. And I don't normally deal with it well. So I need to get my head on now and say, right, what we're going to have to do is not be going for them big shots. Let's neutralise it a little bit and get it in the court for starters, because if we don't get it in the court, we're not going to win. Let them go for the shots. It'll blow out. But I had a game plan again, and I had to think about the conditions to how I needed to change that to be able to get that winning result, which I did. But it's not just about my racket. And the other thing is, I always turn up with my racket like in a carrier bag as well, Luca. It just sends them a bit funny. They go, oh, who's this coming with the carrier bag, when they've got the Babolat kind of bag with 5 rackets in it. And I come with my Aldi special bag, just put it there, but I do it on purpose. And somebody else, I played them in the semi-final, and she said, I was a little bit insulted, she said, when you went to put your jumper on. So we must have been doing all right, and I was that comfortable or a bit cold that I actually went to put my jumper on, and she noticed it the other side. And she said to me after, it put me off. She said, when I saw you going for your jumper, and I knew it would, Luca, I knew. I'm winding her up. So I put it on purpose, and I know she'll have been going, oh, God, I can't believe she's putting a coat on now. I had to put another layer on just for fun. But I know it's kind of playing in their head. So it's just, I'm almost, like I said, that sense of humour has been the one thing that's brought me through life. Never mind football, never mind tennis. It's brought me through life, and I will never stop laughing. And I don't care if people don't like my personality. I really don't. I laugh at my own self sometimes, but I know I'm not funny all the time. Don't get me wrong. And there'll be many people who don't find me funny, but I find myself hilarious. And and that way, that lightheartedness, I've got to laugh. And I'll give you one more example and I could talk to you forever. I've got many stories, but this funny story, because I'm not perfect myself. I talk a good talk, but I'm much better than I ever was, but I'm not perfect. And somebody was playing tennis the last game, and it was a club I didn't particularly like, so I knew that I had to be a bit calmer. And everything was going lovely until a comment was said. And the comment was, it was just about a ball that was in or out. The lady said it was out. And I said, well, I thought it was in, because I did. It was in, Luca. It was in. Now, 2 other people got involved and said, no, it was out. And I said, nobody's asking you, because you're not on this court. And they went, no, don't flatter yourself, or something like that. Well, that was it. That was the comment that just kind of, I thought, oh no, right, just calm yourself now, because I was a bit riled up. So I started to get a little bit angry. I felt like I was getting angry. I managed to contain that and said, Shani, don't worry about it. So what happened is, every time they hit a ball, the ball went out. I went, because she went, it's our call. It was out and it's our call. So every time the ball went out, I went, out, my call. Next minute, ball went out again. I went, out, my call. So and I must have done it about 7 times. And even my partner said, Chantel, you're putting me off. Shani, you're putting me off. Can you stop it? Because obviously you're winding them up now, But I'd lost it. But it would just, and then I laughed about it, and thought, that actually, yes, that I shouldn't be doing that. And after the game, we went on to win the game and that, and I laughed. But afterwards, when I look back now, how fun is that? Me shouting, my call. But I must have done it loads of times, Luca. And maybe no one else found that funny, but I thought that was hilarious. That's just an example. But it got me through the game, my sense of humour. And that's the point of it. It wasn't funny what I did, and I probably shouldn't have done it. Don't copy this if you're listening, children. But, it's just a case of sometimes you have to,
You 100% do. You have to laugh at yourself all the time. I know that's something my granddad says all the time. If they don't laugh, I've got to. And I know he resonates with that quite a lot, and he finds himself very hilarious. And I think that's true because you have to make yourself smile, and you have to believe in what you're saying and what you're doing as well at all times. So I think there's definitely something within that which is so important. And obviously, as you said, you utilized it to wind up the other team, and you went on to win. And I think it's that mind game, which is something which has been a real apparent throughout as you kept talking. But there's a couple of things there, right? So with the Doncaster team or that team that you talked about, I think if you were to set up an event, Chantel, and to bring that back, I think there could be really something special there to really link up with the club and something that you could do, right? And have a big event day and bring that back into, the team and beat anyone. So I think there's something there, right? And I think if there's ever a team for England vets and playing at a World Cup or anything that they do like that, then I think there's another sort of consideration there to represent in a different way at some point and keep winning. But everything that I've listened to and spoken to you tonight is I was looking forward to this conversation, but just having this time with you has been certainly fulfilling. It's been incredible, and I've enjoyed this even more than I thought I would have, because you've just taken the floor away, and I've loved sitting with you. And I appreciate the time, and especially 8:15 at night and around all the commitments you have in your week and whatever, right? But I do appreciate it, Chantel, and I've taken so much away from it. And I'm glad that I've been able to connect with you and have this time. So it's a huge thanks from me, and I'm so grateful you've come on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Like I said, the stories are quite raw. You hear it from the heart from me. I can't be anything other than give you who I am, and this is me. And some people will like that, some people won't. But what you will get here from me is the truth. And I'm not a yes person. I'm not somebody who conforms to just go with the crowd. If something isn't right and I see it, then I will say it. And but it will be for the good of the person rather than for me. And this is why at the minute I've got an offer on where I am looking to kind of target these players to say, listen, if you're on the bench or you want to be a first teamer, then sign up on this offer that I've got, which is to make you more aware of your potential, maximize it, see what we need to do, what areas we can progress on to get you noticed and get you that contract and that playing time that you deserve. So if I had somebody like myself back in the day, I would have jumped all over it. So I would encourage everybody else to come and have a chat with me. It costs nothing. And we could really, just as we have discovered today by talking, it's amazing what it does, what it leads on to. We talked about and touched things today that we didn't plan to touch on. And I certainly didn't plan to tell you. And either you brought that out of me in a way, which is your good interviewing skills, or, we align and we have the same passions so we can relate to each other in what we're saying. So it's been lovely to have a chat with somebody who can understand that. You know where I'm coming from. I'm not crazy. Well, a little bit crazy. I think you have to be a bit crazy sometimes. But that unorthodoxness of me, I like actually, and I won't ever change. So what you see is what you get. And I'm going to be a little bit big-headed and say I am good in what I do. I can make a difference to your football career and get you playing to your full potential, because you may not be even aware of it. I thought I was playing to my full potential and I was going to be there for 5 years. But actually I wasn't, and I could have made so many changes, but I didn't know. So that's the thing now. Let's not let anybody else go through this. So I'm not just here for mental health. Of course, I'm here to help that. And of course, mental health or issues with mental health does affect them performing on the field. So I am about mental health, but I'm much more than mental health. I'm not just somebody you come to see if your mental health is not good. I'm somebody you come to see if you want to talk football. And I can relate to you when you tell me, I did this on pitch. And I can say, yeah, I know, because I've done that so many times. I've kicked it back to a goalkeeper so many times and she's miskicked it and it's gone in. So I'll tell you what I don't do. If I don't rely on my keeper, I are hitting it back. I'm going to turn and I'm going to hoof it into the stand, or I'm going to kick it somewhere else, whatever. But this were actually getting me into trouble with one particular goalkeeper. Oh, but the manager said pass it back. I don't care what the manager said. Don't pass it back if she can't kick it, you know, and that's the lower leagues we're talking about, not so much now. But yeah, we didn't know what we was going to touch on today. I didn't know what questions you were going to come with. So I had no prep, everything, no cue, no auto cue at the back here, Luca. It's all just kind of just comes out really. So hopefully you can make that into a nice interview. But I'm not ever going to say anything that probably needs to be cut out, because, like I said, I'm not bothered. Some people might not like to hear that, but it's the truth. And you know, as much as it might not be pleasant and nice, that was my journey, and there's a million more things to it, of course.
Well, I love that rawness, and I love the way you've been direct and the way that you've shared these authentic stories. So the way that you've come out and given that and shared it, I really do appreciate it. And I think that brings this episode to another life. And although that apologies if you didn't have any prep, right, but I like to sort of open the conversation up and then see what you give me rather than being pre-planned and just having that openness. But you've taken the floor away, and I can't thank you enough. And what you've said there in terms of helping footballers and helping other athletes, and you are good at what you do, and I can tell that from just the 2 hours that we've spoken. So if anyone wants to connect with you, obviously there's your socials. You literally type your name into Google and your On the Feet website will come up, and you can check yourself out there and connect with you. So anyone that listens to this, please reach out to Chantel, because I think she can turn you into a winner, if not exceed your expectations.
Definitely. So, if we share the same mindset, then we will get on without a doubt.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much. I hope you take care with the rest of your evening and week. And I wish you the best of luck in the finals. I wish you a happy birthday ahead of next week. And a thank you from me.
Thank you, Luca. It's been lovely to meet you and chat with you.
And you. Thank you, Chantel. See you soon.
See you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
But yeah, we try to be that group that can help be there for the players as a three, because I think you mentioned earlier, you want to have different characters in the changing room. You want to have different personalities. You don't want the same kind of people, because you're not going to be able to move forward. If you've got 10 people and they all agree the same things, you're going to get to a point in time where actually you're going to become unstuck. You need that one person to actually be like, nah, I don't agree with that. Or actually, we should try this. And I think that's why the huddle works, is we're all quite different as human beings. And I think you need 3 different people in there, because some players will naturally gravitate towards me and my personality, but equally some might go to the other 2, and that's absolutely fine.